All right, recording, sounds good. All right, welcome everybody back to the Evolution Working Group meeting for September 23rd. You know what, I'm not showing my screen. Do you guys want me to go ahead and share my screen, or should we wait to do that? It might be helpful.
I can share mine if you want to not have
Actually,
to. Oh, no, I can't.
That would be helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, Hanan, can you make me co-host?
Yes.
Usually it's hard to be the screen sharer and the coordination.
There we go.
person.
Okay, you should be able to share
it.
screen now. Cool, awesome. So people here. So looking at what we talked about last time, because there wasn't anything specific on the agenda for today, we spent a lot of our time revisiting the same question that was talked about at the last meeting, specifically, or the meeting before that, specifically talking about dependencies in the context of evolution. And I mean, kind of approaching that question from a variety of angles, including what is our goal with understanding dependencies? What kind of dependencies are there? You know, there's project dependencies like code dependencies, but there's also, you know, different types like package dependencies, API dependencies, language dependencies. Really, it's a very broad term. And so we kind of just spent some time thinking about important questions that related to dependencies that people might be interested in. And some of them were things that maybe belong in other working groups, but should we kind of continue in the same vein today and maybe think about some other questions we could ask? Do we want to try to take one and turn it into a bit more of a full-fledged metric? Does anybody have any particularly strong feelings one way or another?
I think if we have any issues or pull requests, we should look at them first. But yeah, I'm all for just using this as a working meeting and
Okay.
you know, getting some metrics developed.
Mm-hmm. Let me see what issues and pull requests are open. I actually haven't checked. This is a lot of pull requests. It looks like, Sean, of these pull requests, these from your students.
There's a lot of pull requests.
Yeah.
I
don't think
probably
the first
three.
The first three don't look like they look fine.
Yeah.
Should we just?
Yeah,
we should do something about all the ones that.
The other ones, I think, anything from before May, I think we can deal with offline. But
okay,
updating Grimoire Live links, we should probably do that.
Yeah.
I don't know what clarify scope terminology in grammar is. This looks just like pretty straightforward editing. We should probably accept. Except now.
Okay. This is just for the. Okay.
So there's a conflict, so we can't merge that one during the meeting.
Okay.
We
should also rename that file because I think contributors is spelled wrong.
Yeah, that. Excuse me.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about doing this. Resolving that merge conflict live, I think that's fine. And that also looks like, look at it again. If it really just is
updating links, I think this one can be merged.
Which one? That one?
367.
Yep, that's fine with me. Yep.
the only other one, I had one, I think this was while you were doing your internship, Carter, where we had a meeting where we just kind of like did a lot of tidying up and removing old folders. So I don't know why I don't know why we I don't know what the Travis CI build failure is. I guess that's probably because, oh, I know why, because we're taking out a bunch of the old
implementations,
Python implementations, because we don't maintain them and we don't use them. And we kind of agreed to do that to simplify.
Okay. There is a metric file that's snuck in here. Total productivity.md. So I'm not sure if that's supposed to be in here. It's towards the bottom. Like you're gonna have to do some scrolling if you want to find it.
Is it a released? I don't think it's a released metric.
I don't think it's a release metric, but it's just some random metric that got thrown into this pull request, which we might want the metric, but it probably doesn't go in this pull request, is my thinking.
I'm curious if it's like total productivity has a corresponding Google sheet that we created. Okay. Nope.
You didn't find one?
No, I'm searching. Oh, this is just a template.
Oh, it is?
Like an idea.
So it's probably fine to delete it.
There's no work that's been accomplished on it. It was just somebody threw the template in there. Well, I can't approve my own pull request.
Yeah, and it's also from U4, so you delete that file.
Yeah.
So should we do this one later?
We can take. Yeah. Does somebody want to look this over? Take the task of looking it over and seeing that we still all agree with removing this stuff and removing that metric. Or do you want me to merge it?
I mean, I think it's fine to merge. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't merge it, because we've been keeping these up to date. I'd like to get that metric out of there before we merge it. So it's not a huge deal if we don't, I guess, so that we can, we can just add it later. But
what if we just add the metric to the spreadsheet?
Do we want to? I mean, that's also an option. I feel like
because there's nothing. I guess my point is
we found it in an errant pull request is a bit of a weird reason to add it to the spreadsheet. Like,
yeah, but it's like clearly one that has existed for a long time, but probably, let's see. Yeah, it was created March 31st and never developed.
Yeah.
So that was, Kevin, was that before the spreadsheet became widely used? I feel like we've been using it for longer than that, but maybe my sense of time is all distorted since the pandemic.
It was before version 2 for sure.
Okay.
So we've gone through two versions of the spreadsheet, and I'm trying version 1 was not nearly as built out as the one we're using currently.
Yeah, I mean, essentially all we have here is a name, and it hasn't been discussed. So I would vote in favor of just ripping off the Band-Aid and getting rid of this metric. It was an idea that had only a name and no other intellectual contribution, and it did not ever get to the spreadsheet or get developed or get discussed in the subsequent meeting. So
I'm fine with that.
So I'm going to merge this puppy. just to get our, because I do think we have a bunch of stuff in this working group that is very different than other working groups. There we go. I'm really glad I hadn't deleted my evolution branch. This has been there for so long. All right. So then if I go back.
That's probably, yeah, the rest of the pull requests we can work on, we can do later.
Yeah, I agree. I think most of them are from my students and maybe would be closed without merging.
Probably.
Or transferred to a part of the list. I can take that as an action item. So review the pull requests for evolution.
That's fine. Okay, should we look at some of the issues maybe for a
Oh,
couple
yeah.
minutes?
Yeah, there's a lot of issues.
Looks.
Oh, no, it's not. There were a lot of pull requests.
Yeah, a couple have been opened recently, but not that recently.
That's a. This is an interesting idea that I have not. I mean, it's occurred to me that branches do indicate something. I haven't ever considered the metric, but I think it's like if I think about the work we do on Augur, the branches that come and go certainly do indicate that we are busy and we're active. And Carter, you've driven that, just as an example, driven us towards more feature branches. So I think all we would do is work on create a metric in the list called branch lifecycle for this.
Metrics and third merge not deleted. Yeah, this definitely is an interesting idea. I'm just, what's the intent behind measuring it? Like what are we like? I'm just trying to think what information you would gain by, like what kind of things you would say about the branch lifecycle.
So it's like development branch or stable branch or like different version branch. So it gives a sense of overall sense of a repo in the different states, or like, okay, the development work is being happened in this. This is the staple branch, which is like used by anyone who just want the code or anything. There's like a version branch. Okay, these are the different versions you keep. Maybe this is just my 2 cents.
Right. That makes sense. I guess I'm just not clear on what that information gives you in terms of like other than that it exists, that there are multiple branches, which I would assume most Git projects use multiple branches. Anyways, I feel like I'm probably I don't want to get too far into the weeds on this if we don't want to.
Is the same information discernible from pull request data? In other words, if we look at pull requests have a target and a source, and it's easy in the pull request data to discern if the target or source is a branch or a fork. So is it possibly a filter on information about pull requests? So like a branch fork switch?
I don't think it's a filter because I mean, you can use branches without pull requests just by merging at the command line, which is like if you're using Git, for example.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Which that information wouldn't be captured in a pull request. So I think that information, maybe information about the branches of a pull request, the source and the target branch, that still might be an interesting like filter on that metric. That's something I think we could consider adding, but I don't think that this specific metric is probably a filter on it. That's my interpretation, at least. But do we want to? I guess should we add this to the list and then come back to it later and talk about it more?
Yeah, I'm gonna just.
This would probably go in activity, maybe.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's for sure the activity. But it's like I'm thinking in terms what question we are answering by identifying the different branches. So, like if I identified 4, 5, 6, whatever the branches a repo has, what question I'm answering with that? Is it telling me anything?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in some cases you might be able to, like, a very crude proxy would be to like look at all of the branches that they have and see like, do they have a bunch of version branches? Like if they have a lot, maybe that means they release. It's like, yeah, you can get that information from releases and not branches. I was gonna say, I mean, you might be able to use that as a, you know, an indicator of project maturity. It's been around for a while. It's got a lot of, you know, branches for versions, but that probably fits more under like releases or tags and not branches. I mean, I think each project uses branches really differently.
Yeah, that's true. I just have a concern. Do we also consider the future branches here? Because that will really make the flow looks interesting for most projects. Because whenever they are starting a life cycle, they always start with the future branch. Then after they switch back to the master branch.
I mean, it would tell us. I mean, like some projects, like I know Grimoire Lab does this a lot. They create patch branches. Like there's a lot of they probably create and destroy more branches than any project I've seen. It's kind of their way of working. So it would disclose. I'm not sure it would be an indicator of activity compared to other repos because some organizations just work differently than others, but certainly it would tell us about how an organization works.
That it might be interesting to I mean that's giving me an idea. Maybe it would be interesting to look at the way that the project uses branches. Like, do a lot of people commit to the same branch usually? Does everybody commit to their own branch? Is there one branch where everybody works together and then everybody else has their own separate branch? Like referencing, like cross-referencing the contributors and the commits they're making with where they're making them could be interesting. That might be something that might be useful.
I might call the metric branch churn because I think that's what he's getting at. Does that sound like a good name for it? I'm assuming this is a lot. Churn.
I think branch life cycle might. This is concerned mainly with the life cycle.
All right, so call it branch life cycle. That's what he called it. And I put
mark it
link
as considering, or
yeah, I think it would be considering at this point because we don't have a clear picture of. And I just put a link to the issue in there.
Okay.
I don't know if there's other issues we want to address. These are just release notes. Lines and files is now an evolution metric. Okay, do we have that? I think we put that. Yep, we did that. So Visualizing issues and PRs.
I haven't seen this one.
Armstrong, is this right? I think the request here is to integrate visualizations related to two categories of metrics, issues and PRs.
Yeah.
Okay. So the question is, do we have, so do we create a do we create a what are we calling a non-atomic metric, or do we create or are these visualization standards that can be implemented by tools?
I'm not sure I follow. What,
So a
what do you mean by
non-atomic,
like atomic? And
so we've been
what's
using
an
this
atomic metric?
we've been using this word atomic metric where it's just it represents one specific thing like pull request count, um, etc. Um,
I'm still like
and a non-atomic metric would be something that's like basically putting together a bunch of metrics. Like there was this the value group had this incredibly complex metric that I reviewed and suggested, I think, 12 different atomic metrics required to construct that.
just a metric made of other metrics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like meta-matrix. Some matrices capture other matrices to explain their use cases. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at the PPT is like it's giving an overall picture of the evolution. Whatever the metrics we have developed are fit in the different box. Like they have a review, new PRs, reviews, comments, accepted, merged, declined. If you go to the slide 4, which Matt has shared, I felt like it's like whatever atomic metric we are developing, it is fit in somewhere in this. So it's like a holistic picture of evolution working group, maybe.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, I think actually a
I'm
lot
not
of
sure
the
if this is a metric. I don't think this is a metric.
I think a lot of this is in the Augur community reports as well.
Yes. So it's like another way of representing all those atomic metrics in like collaboration, in a joint picture. Okay, how these small pieces fit together in a big larger ecosystem, or maybe in yeah,
So
if you
this
go
is
to the slide 4 is like 2 or 4.
so yeah. Yeah, this feels to me more like a software design question. Like, in fact, the PR reports for Augur, for the Augur community reports, basically do this.
I think like every open source program which is developed through these Git platforms, whatever the Git platform, goes through this cycle.
Yeah, and like, have you seen the Augur community reports? Because this kind of thing is pretty, honestly, this is what
Yes.
the what do you call it, the pull request Augur community report is.
Yes.
And I'll just share that. So like if you opened that spreadsheet locally and just kind of, I mean, here's our closed pull request volume, looking at merged and not merged, response times for merged and not merged, mean days to the first response for closed pull request, merged and not merged. Here's a competitive analysis of first response time, looking at 5 repositories in addition to Zephyr that are in their competitive space, mean comments, the number of commits in a pull request, mean and median days between comments on pull requests. I mean, I think this report, this kind of Augur community report, gets at exactly what that is asking for from a pull request perspective.
Yes.
And so I wonder if so I tagged Armstrong and Matt in the issue here in my comment. Although when I look at, I'm just gonna new file upload. I'm just gonna.
It's really throwing me off that red means it was released.
In the Augur community report?
No, in this PowerPoint. I'm still just trying to understand this PowerPoint.
The PowerPoint was developed by our colleagues in the Asia Pacific region, so
yeah, I saw that. It's just the
could
use of
very
colors is
there could very well be difference.
Around China. Was it
Yeah.
developed by Asians? Okay, yeah, then it explained. Because red is actually the opposite of green in our culture.
That's kind of what I was wondering, is if there's a cultural difference.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Actually, I had no idea.
When the Chinese show you red, it's like you are welcome, it's love, you can come in.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Good to know.
I'm just saving this as Google Slides so that we can put a link in here and then I can make a comment.
Looking at the colors, I'm currently taking the design science class, and it's like the red and green combination is totally
it looks backwards.
Not even the back. I'm thinking from the colorblind people perspective. It's like
that's fair. Never thought about that.
You got a comment
Can't
at this time?
comment at this time?
Why not?
Is there something funky with the formatting of your link? Like what happens if you remove the link and then try to post the comment and then add the link after? I don't know.
That's super weird.
I've never seen that happen before, Sean.
Maybe it's just a GitHub glitch.
Yeah.
are you suggesting he embed the link inside the text?
Oh yeah, embedding it might be, that's a good idea. Or?
Yeah, I think it's just a momentary glitch. Yeah.
GitHub goblins are fickle creatures.
Yeah.
Okay, which issue is that?
This is issue 360.
Do we want to, I mean, it is 9:30. Do we want to talk about any more issues or maybe try to focus on something else for the last 15 minutes? I think everything else, all the issues that are open have been open for a while, so there's probably not much else we can talk about.
Yeah, let's pick a. You want to pick a metric and work on it, Carter?
Like from the sheet, or like one of the ones that we were talking about last time?
I would say
like working on dependencies.
Let's talk about working on dependencies.
So you want to talk about dependencies? Is that what you said? Sorry, I missed
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
okay.
If that's what we were talking about last time, maybe I missed the meeting last time.
Last time we proposed like 4 or 5 dependencies matrix, like code dependency, package dependency, API dependency, infrastructure dependency. So maybe we can pick one and refine it, or we just, I don't know.
Did we create the dependency?
There's no Google Docs. No, it's not in the sheet. It's in the meeting notes from last time.
Okay. So let's create. Okay.
So yeah, we can do that. Should we? So there's there's a couple different types that we talked about, like types of dependencies from last time. It's a little bit farther down, Sean. It's right there. There, it's highlighted.
Yeah, this code dependency.
Yep, right there.
Pack.
So these were the different kinds of, just some of the kinds of dependencies that we like. What could the dependency refer to? That we thought about. At a very high level, pretty quickly.
By defining these, we can talk about dependencies in the future a little more intelligently.
Yeah, I wonder if we want to, because there's code dependency, package dependencies have package manager dependency.
Yes.
Yep.
API dependencies, obviously, would like we would call it GitHub API. Infrastructure
is more like depending on iOS or like this Google app platform, something along those like, or Linux or Windows maybe.
Now, infrastructure is more steel, right? The platform technology is what you were talking about there.
Yeah.
And language is language a dependency? How is language?
Programming language, not human language.
Right, but
yes, like one software use multiple programs also, like in different code chunks. So where they are dependent on sometimes in Java or in Python or in like some other language.
Okay. So let's see. I think we create. Let's create Google. Should we create Google? Should we create a line for each of these?
So the question is, will these go to a particular focus area, or should we develop a new focus area and call it dependencies and then define all of these over there?
Yeah, I think a new focus area called dependencies is probably in order.
But I think evolution is the best place to really handle these kind of things because
totally.
Yes, because as let's take for example, API dependency. When things are evolving, they become deprecated, they start creating these dependency and things like that. Because dependency really comes in when growth is coming in. Most often, if you look like the baseline of, well, there are cases where it is natural within an ecosystem or a project that dependency happens. But I think if evolution, anyway, it all depends how we define it as well.
So I've been thinking about it as kind of a directional use case where dependencies fits in evolution when we talk about production.
Mm-hmm.
However, it might fit better in risk when we talk about usage dependencies.
Okay.
Right? Or it might fit better in value when we talk about it from a usage point of view. But when we talk about it in evolution, we're almost always going to talk about it as from like a production standpoint.
Yes, that's true. I agree.
Well, and I don't think any other group has really taken on. I don't think it fits in any other working group, honestly.
I think it fits in risk.
Well, so from a risk perspective, yes, they definitely care. I mean, I'm active in that one.
I think risk and evolution are very kind of overlapping also sometimes. It's like a very...
Yeah.
We start thinking about it from an organizational perspective. It might be like organizational dependencies. It might start fitting into common.
Yeah.
I think it's just a matter of perspective. It's the way you look at it. And I think evolution looks at dependencies from in a very useful way for all of the working groups. And then and then risk and common and value are probably looking at it in more specific use cases, if they want to.
Yeah, I agree. And I think so risk is looking at it from a sustainability as well as a runtime trustworthiness perspective. So the more you have more, when you have more dependencies and risk, you have more that you need to verify for safety critical systems, for example. So I don't have religion about where it lives. I think it definitely is a concern for evolution, Kevin. And now we do have a way of indicating there's a state where we can say it refers to it. There's a different working group that's working on these metrics.
I was thinking one more dependency as we were discussing. It's like a software supply chain dependency. Is my software dependent on other packages in the supply chain?
Yeah.
I think that's already going to be, I think that's addressed through the dependency metrics that we've already mentioned, Vinod.
Yeah, that was just an idea. It came in my mind. I was not sure whether it is like.
I do think I think evolution should take the lead on dependencies.
Yeah.
Because at this point we can define the terminologies and kind of the base understanding of dependencies and kind of set the course. And then if other working groups want to take up parts of it, they can. But I think evolution is a great place to set the standard.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so we've got we got like 9 minutes left. So should we just get as far as we can on one of them, maybe? Or we could do something else, or we could call it early. I'm okay with whatever.
Maybe we could create the docs.
Okay.
Where we have we have 8 minutes. Maybe let's just pick one of the dependency ones and get it sketched out in a Google Doc for 5 minutes.
Is there a place that all of these metrics go? Like all of these Google Docs? Like a common place they all live? Are they just in random people's Google accounts?
I've been told random people's Google accounts. I've asked that question in the past as well.
It is kind of, yeah.
Makes me very nervous.
It is absolutely random people's Google accounts, and in an ideal world, what we should probably do is have a CHAOSS Google account that is owned and controlled by some collection of people where nobody can delete it.
Yeah.
But right now, it's just a bunch of people's Google accounts.
We do kind of
just even a shared folder that we can all use would be better than that.
We did that in Risk.
Random accounts.
Yeah. We did that in Risk. We had a shared folder. I created a shared folder for Risk.
So we do kind of treat these documents as disposable, right?
That is true.
Once we transfer it to Markdown, we never return to these documents.
Right.
So I guess the main reason to keep them would be to keep that history of work, I suppose.
Yeah, and I just there could also be a large period of time in between when the Google Doc gets created and when it would get transferred to Markdown.
Even after Markdown, we don't have this history where it was developed, what were the comments or anything. So it's now we are replacing with the GitHub Markdown links once the metric is released.
Yeah, from a transparency perspective, it is a little troubling.
Yeah. Maybe a discussion for a journal working group that should we have a transparency of the Google Docs also for the record.
Yep. Okay, I just created one for code dependencies, and I put the link in there in the spreadsheet. And I can go ahead and copy the template over. I also assumed we wanted to have these metric names be plural, like code dependencies, package dependencies, because code dependency, it just felt weird. All right. I mean, we have 4 minutes left. Should we?
All right.
We can start if we want. I put the template in.
So code-dependent, when we say code dependencies, it sounds like codependency. When we say code dependencies, do we mean like the import statements that are within a program?
That was my impression. So this would be lines of codes and file dependencies, or lines of code and file dependencies, or at that level.
So is it like code dependency in reality, or is it a library dependency then?
Well, so it's interesting. So there were like libraries.io did a good job of scanning the package managers for dependencies between packages distributed through that individual platform. However, most of the projects on GitHub have, in addition to that, a set of import dependencies that can include things that are not distributed by a package manager or potentially are distributed by multiple different package managers. And so that would show up in the import, basically the language equivalent of an import statement
Yes, for every language.
Yeah. So when we say code dependencies, I think in my mind, I'm distinguishing that from package management dependencies because it's like I would say code dependencies would include most package manager dependencies as well. By just
So
although it wouldn't indicate the thing that package manager, and this is hard to do without visualization, package manager dependencies get you the packages that also have to be installed when you install like let's take matplotlib for example. There's like a
right.
half a dozen other packages that automatically get installed when you install matplotlib. My program may only show the dependency for matplotlib, and it may also show the dependency for something that isn't distributed by a package manager, that is another GitHub project, or distributed by a
That's
different package manager. So it's, I guess neither of them gets the full view of the dependencies.
that's where it gets complicated, and I was working on the V index. So it's like second order dependency. You imported the matplot, but with that you got other bunch on which matplot is actually dependent.
Well, that's what libraries.io did, is they
Yes.
gave you that, but it doesn't give you the other side of it, which is so I would say this is
I don't really know the mindset of developing code dependency in this perspective. Like in agreement with what you guys have already said, upfront, I would think they were trying to look at the class, the function, and the method dependencies. Because already we know about the API and the package management dependency and API dependency, but code dependency is it's a little bit ambiguously defined. So the way I could relate to it is like looking at the code, like from the class perspective, the function and the method level, how they occur, the dependencies among those. It might just be the level of granularity.
hey, we started the metric.
I'm just really quick. I'm confused. What like examination of import statements relevant to different languages?
It's like in R we are saying library, in Python we are saying
Yeah.
import, in different languages we use different terminology for the import.
Just give some examples in there then, rather than the relevant.
Like,
example, R library. Python import. Yeah. What is in the Java? Is it import?
import.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a good start. It gives us a good place to pick up on next week. We are a little bit over time, so I guess we will go ahead and finish up the meeting for today.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you.
All right, sounds good.
Everyone.
Thanks for coming, everybody. See you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, thank you. See you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, all.